Let's go back to the start of the program when I went through all of those calamities for poor school kids in New South Wales, talked about white privilege, unconscious bias, all of this anti-racism campaign, which in itself is a good thing. But when you look at the detail, I'll tell you what, I think parents would be horrified trying to engender shame in kindergarten children. I think is madness. So let's get some common sense. To do that, I'm joined now from Newcastle by the leader of One Nation in New South Wales, Mr. Mark Latham. I think this is bizarre. I think it's bizarre to foist it on kids. I think it's bizarre that this takes up room in the curriculum when we're doing so poorly and all the international league tables. And you just heard Chris Ullman, and we don't even understand our history. We're at war with ourselves, and yet we go on with this sort of stuff, Mark?
Well, in New South Wales, in terms of education reform, Peter, the Premier has said back to basics, and the Education Minister has said she wants to take the political content out of our classrooms. Well, how can she leave this website up there under the auspices of the New South Wales Department of Education? It's encouraging kids to think badly of the Australian national flag, the national anthem, to attack our national symbols. What's that got to do with stopping racism in schools? Absolutely nothing. It's leftist indoctrination, propaganda. And to be pushing to school kids these wacky leftist unproven theories of postmodernism, social construction, unconscious bias, white privilege, if anything, this disgraceful website builds a racism against white people for no other reason they were born with a certain skin colour. And in terms of pushing white privilege, there are plenty of white people who grow up in public housing estates in desperately poor circumstances. There's no privilege in that. The privilege in Australia comes from working hard, making use of your opportunities, having a crack, getting ahead, and as a product of all that hard work, leaving something better for your children. That's what we should be teaching instead of this neo-Marxist website, which unfortunately the National Party minister maintains under the coverage of the New South Wales Department.
Yeah, but I want to go to some other issues, but I mean, I've got to make the point though, ministers are supposed to be across their portfolio. Now, they won't know everything. The size of government is nothing like it was in the past, but there'll be things then that crop up that a minister may not be aware of in terms of how it practically affects people on the ground, and that's when they fix it. But when it's pointed out to coalition ministers that X or Y is a long way away from what a centre-right government should do or stands for, and they then don't do anything about it, they don't fix it, I've got to say, as someone who has grown up inside the Liberal Party all my adult life, you've got to wonder, do these people even know what are the tenets of faith of the Liberal Party?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you contract out control of the education system to bureaucrats, we're in big, big trouble. The minister's got to take control of her department. She's got to eradicate ridiculous material like this. She said, to her credit, at the end of 2019, she wanted to get political content out of the classroom. You've only got to scan this website for a few minutes to know it's wall-to-wall political propaganda. Take it down and let's never see it again.